Greetings, everybody. Nickie Brown here. I want to thank you for tuning in and watching, no matter where you are and no matter what part of the world you are currently in. I hope that you are having a wonderful day. Let's talk about it. America is crashing, right? The economy is crashing. This world power that everybody thought would never crash is starting to crash because people are learning the truth. The truth that, many Europeans came here as indentured servants, along with the Quakers and the Pilgrims who wanted to establish a new religion in the new world, right? But those indentured servants worked alongside the indigenous people who were already here. Those indigenous people were described as copper-colored and swarthy or dark-skinned is what those words basically mean. That means people that are this color were here. I know I might be like 3 or 4 different shades right now because this part gets sun and that part doesn't. But brown-skinned people were here. There was genocide, right? Because the elite wanted to be empowered, they wanted to take control of the land, and they wanted wealth. They wanted Mansa Musa wealth, right? So they came here first as, to see what was going on. Came back as friends. Columbus came back several times, like 3, 4 times. Came with a Bible, came with weapons. First they pretended they wanted to trade, because we were a trading system. Right? There was no money in that way. There was coins, but there was mainly trading. Like, I make this, you make that, let's trade. So it was a trading and bartering system. It wasn't money like we know it today. But at a certain point, those indentured servants that came from Europe had to pay their indenture, right? So they worked the land alongside the people who were here, because the people who were already here already knew how to work the land. So again, they were tricked and their land was taken away from them, and they were convinced to work the land and pay, basically, or be paid, a small little stipend to help work this land, right? Now we have jobs. And a lot of people don't want to think that way. Oh, you don't know what you're talking about. And they immediately get upset with me because it's coming from this little black girl. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know what I'm talking about. But anyway, we worked alongside one another, right? Our ancestors worked alongside one another until they decided to divide and conquer, right? And this is when, it was 1680. I can't remember, but there was, a law passed, right? Let's tell the Caucasians that they're better than the dark-skinned people because they're the same shade as us. And then we'll give them stuff to make them feel, we'll put you in this neighborhood. That's when the redlining and the KKK and the New Deal and all the different things, subsequently followed. Because of this divide and conquer law that was passed. And it wasn't 1610, it was 1680. I can't remember it off the top of my head right this second. If and when I remember, I will post it in the description box below. But anyway, these laws changed how we show up. And so once we had, after the Civil War, right? Or after slavery, we started to buy land. We were politicians. It was the Reconstruction era, a renaissance for us. And because we were doing well and they started not doing so well, they started to burn down our stuff, put black cities underwater. And then they said, oh, well, you know what? You can come and work for us, because they know our strength. They know our power. They know we're smart, right? And so they can even convince people who look like us to practice meritorious manumission. So basically, if you tell or if you do everything on my side, and don't help out your fellow man, I'm going to reward you. Right? And so this is what people do now. And so now you have your own people, or they don't do that to each other, but you have your own people who will block you, who will sabotage you and prevent you from moving up. Right? But we're coming into a time where your money, your house, and your connections aren't going to mean anything. What's going to matter is what's inside. And those people that you rejected, those people that you were mean to, those people that you didn't give an opportunity to, you're probably going to need those people. Because guess what? Those people had to rely on the Most High. Right? Those people had to build up their spirituality, their spiritual muscle. Right? They had to tap into their higher self to combat the struggles that they were placed into while you sat back and laughed. And you thought it was funny. And you thought it was cute because you had this perceived power, this man-given power. God did not give that to you, though. And you thought it was so cute and so funny to be evil and mistreat people. You think it's so cute and so funny to control people and to tell people no when you know they deserve it. You do something wrong and then you try to gaslight the person to make it seem as if they're wrong for even saying anything. You manipulate people. And there's a difference between lying and being a liar. And a lot of people have no integrity and respect for fellow humans. For living beings, period. And then somebody like me, my philosophy is if there isn't anything I can do about it, I'm not going to worry about it. And I continue to live my life with joy. And people are like, oh, what's wrong with her? I don't like her. Why is she so happy? Why is she always smiling? Who she thinks she is? She not better than me. She not smarter than me. All of this ungodly, unrighteous thoughts that are going through people's mind when I'm not thinking that way at all. I'm just doing me. I'm just enjoying life and making the best of the situation because I understand how corrupt the system is. There have been people like Prince, Bill Cosby, Michael Jackson. They've been telling us these things for years, right? Through music, and you thought it was just entertainment. Michael Jackson said repeatedly, all I want to say is that they don't really care about us. He also said, do you remember the time when we fell in love? And he did a whole video showing you a schematic of how we used to live. And they want you to think that your ancestors come from Africa so that you don't know that this is our land. They committed the genocide against us, our ancestors, our people. But they want to attach you to Africa so that, again, you don't know they took control of this land. They tell you that it was the Mexicans or people who are lighter skinned. That's not who the explorers and the colonists wrote about, though. You have to read it. They did not describe the people who are considered indigenous or Indians now. No, that's not who they described. They said copper color and swarthy. There was another word, and I can't think of it right now. But those are the main two. When they wrote in their journals and they described the people that they encountered when they came to the Americas, North, South, Central, they described dark-skinned people, and they committed genocide against those people. And we are the ancestors of those people. And those of us who are spiritual, highly spiritual, some of us even consider, we're considering ourselves the chosen ones because we never fell for the system. We've been unplugged from the matrix. We're just waiting for you. And we've been sitting back watching the show for decades. And we've been increasing our spirituality for decades. Some have just started. Everybody's on different levels. And some people, even if they've been working on it for decades, there's still people who may come up behind you who maybe reach a higher level because they're learning something different. But we're tapping into those spirituality, our higher self. And we're not judging and we're not criticizing. And we're not saying, oh, well, you don't have this, so I'm better than you. Your car is not going to matter. The amount of money that you have, it may not even be there. You may lose it all. And again, you're going to have to rely on those people that you kept in a belittled, in your mind you did anyway. You belittled and you kept in a low vibrating place. You're going to need to rely on those people to learn how to survive if you don't know how. And I don't just mean survive as far as food is concerned or other resources. I mean, you're going to have to rely on those people to help you spiritually. Even these churches. A lot of these pastors, they're taught what to teach you. This, again, is indoctrination that is systematically placed years ago. They said, oh, okay, you can teach the Bible, but you can only teach this. And so, make sure you get your people to follow this. And then they made it about money. Separation of church and state, right? So you don't have to pay taxes. Just go ahead and get your money from the people. And you don't have to pay taxes on it. And we'll leave you alone as long as you teach what we're telling you to teach. That's how come no pastor that I know of ever, pastor, preacher, minister, whatever you want to call them, bishop, I don't care. Right? I have never heard anyone teach the entire Bible. They stick to the same scriptures for decades. And most people don't pay any attention. They don't teach the whole Bible. And if they do teach the Bible, they don't teach the truth of the Bible. Why aren't they teaching you Genesis? God gives us everything that we need from the earth for thy food and thy medicine. How come they never talk about that? How come they don't tell you to beat that diabetes or beat that cancer or beat that whatever, that you can eat healthy and exercise, even if it's just 5 minutes, 15 minutes. It could be a walk, 15-minute walk, drinking water. That's better for you than any pill any doctor could ever give you. They're giving you poison, man-made poison. And they're telling you that it's medicine when God told you, I gave you everything on the earth for thy food and thy medicine. It's in Genesis. You don't even have to read too far into the Bible. Basic. That is the foundation. Be one with nature. That's why I gave it to you. They have us living in boxes, though. Our ancestors didn't live in boxes. Our ancestors lived in round structures. They've now boxed us in with this indoctrination. And they tell you, oh, in order for you to be successful, you have to have the biggest house and the biggest this and the biggest that. Or the best this and the best that. It's fake. You don't even have your own thoughts. And you don't realize that you don't think for yourself. You think what they have told you to think. You do what they have told you to do and what they have taught you to do, which is work for me and buy the stuff that I create to make me more money. Even these holidays, they tell you what to buy. Buy the cars, buy the balloons, and what happens usually, that stuff goes right in the trash. You're wasting money on stuff that has no value, that you don't really need. We were convinced to do that. And so when I tell people I don't celebrate birthdays or I don't celebrate holidays, they get mad. But then I had to realize, sometimes you do have to meet people where they are. So this is for my spiritual people who are kind of struggling with, saying grand rising or greetings versus good morning. You know that you're saying good sorrow to someone, but they don't understand that. And so sometimes you just have to meet them where they are. And if you really feel that uncomfortable about saying good morning, just say good day. That's a little bit easier for people to digest than grand rising or even greetings. They just think you're being weird because they're not trying to understand. They're not going to ask you why you're saying that. They just think you're trying to be difficult and you just don't want to do what they want you to do. And they will attack you. Like, oh, well, why? Because it happened to me. And remind you, I never once told anybody, oh, you have to say greetings to me or you have to say grand rising to me. I never once said that. They say good morning, I said greetings. But it made them so uncomfortable because of the cognitive dissonance. People don't want you to disturb their dream. Most people are dreaming. Most people are still plugged into the matrix. If you ask somebody to unplug, they would be like, what do you mean unplug? I need my phone. One of my kids call. They make everything like it's an emergency. Back in the day, when we had house phones, if you didn't answer the phone, the person either had to call back or leave a message. Now it's like people panic. Oh my God, why didn't you answer your cell phone? It's not an umbilical cord, y'all. The technology is horrible for our insides. It's like you're inside of a microwave every time you have this technology next to you. Especially for women who put it in their breasts. Please, even in your pocket, that's your pelvic area. Our cell phone should at least be 2 to 3 feet away from us. All the technology. When I'm in my bedroom, I don't have a TV in my bedroom. When I'm in my bedroom at night, all the technology is in the living room. And I even have a EMF protector on the back of my phone. It's a black tourmaline disc that I stick on the back of my phone to protect me from some of the radiation. I wear gemstones or carry gemstones with me, again, to protect me from some of this radiation. It's horrible for us. And there are towers everywhere. All of this stuff was done intentionally, right? To, again, take us as far away from nature as humanly possible so that we don't reconnect with our higher self. And we continue to think it's about the best car, the biggest house, the best job, the highest paying job. In the trips to nowhere, you're not really going anywhere. If you're staying on a resort, that's not, you're not really experiencing that country. You're just playing around. If you're not going out into nature in that country and, talking to the natives, you're not really doing anything. Because a lot of the stuff that you do outside of the country, you can do right here. All those excursions, you could go zip lining, dolphin swimming. And I've done those things. Right? Because at that time, I still didn't know. I'm still a baby in my spiritual journey. Because you never stop being on your spiritual journey. It's an ongoing thing. But we all need to heal. We've all been lied to. And I know I'm going to have to help so many people, because I know some of y'all are going to be so shocked and so surprised when you really find out the truth. When you accept and acknowledge the truth. We've been sharing this truth for a long time. It's time for y'all to wake up. It's time for y'all to know and understand what's really going on, so you can help yourself and stop falling for the lies and the BS. Love y'all.